So I finally did it. So I left Germany completely and moved over to Canada to start completely afresh. And I mean completely from zero. So I've lived, studied, and worked in Germany since 2015, which is about 11 years now. So as you guys can imagine, the travel experience was very much emotional and challenging at the same time. Tell them how you feeling. How are we feeling?
So good.
I know.
As we've come to that, doing the final touches,
Right.
and we should be at the airport.
Exactly.
Okay.
We should be at the airport in about, let's say, 2.5 hours, give or take. So we have all these massive bags to pack and everything. So that part is gonna be a journey. Now there are several things that comes with moving from one country to the other because I had to do a lot of contract cancellations, including my bank contract as well as the apartment I was living in. I also had to cancel that contract. I also had to cancel my car insurance contract and my health insurance contract as well. So that comes with a lot of work, a lot of stress, a lot of back and forth, and also some minor contracts such as Netflix accounts, what else, Spotify, Apple Music, and all that good stuff. So you guys basically get the point. So the stress, the challenge, as well as the hard work was enormous. Now the same thing also applies to when moving over here to Canada. I basically had to do all those same contracts all over again, including housing and apartments. I also had to do the visa application and all those things. I also had to do my health insurance and all those same things all over again. So as you guys can pretty much imagine, the entire process was very much tasking, but at the same time it was very much worth it. It was worth the experience, it was worth the wait and all that good stuff. So right now, let me basically give you guys my entire experience of Canada so far compared to Germany. And what I mean by that is the cultural shock of Canada and Germany. Let's get into it. Now let's talk about the culture shock since I've been here. Now mind you, I've been in Canada for about 1.5 weeks to 2 weeks now, so I've seen a little bit in the meantime. I've been out, I've been driving mostly, I've been in offices, I've been in shops, so I've experienced quite a lot. So the first thing I have to say is the friendliness of the people. Man, when I tell you guys that Canadians are so friendly, in fact, they are too friendly to a fault. Now, especially coming from someone who comes from Germany, right, from Europe, right, it makes you become suspicious immediately because we are not used to this over friendliness, to this over politeness. For example, over here, a client is allowed to yell or shout at an employee or at a worker, which is very surprising to me, and they can go scot-free with it. Sometimes, in fact, they might not even have to pay for what they ordered just because they don't like the outcome. Now, let me give you an example. In Germany, for example, even though in Germany, it is quite considered that the client is king, which means they always have the right, but there is a limit to that. That is the point. There is a limit. A client cannot come to a shop or to a bank and be completely disrespectful to the employees without a valid reason. Whereas here, you can just order a drink and then literally 5 seconds later, you're like, nah, this is not what I ordered for. I want it changed, and it will be changed. That was very surprising. That is, in fact, I have no words. So that's one. So the second one that I have to say is that the second culture shock here is for mostly the drivers. The amount of stop signs here in Canada is insane, especially here in Montreal, right? It's quite annoying to a point. I mean, every country at the end of the day has their own system. For example, Germany has a lot of speed cameras. I feel like the UK has a lot of roundabouts. Meanwhile, Canada has a lot of stop signs, specifically here in Montreal. It's crazy, especially in residential areas. It's crazy. It's crazy. Every 200 to about 300 meters is a stop sign. It's very annoying.
It's very, very annoying, but eventually you will get used to it. But at first, it was just very annoying, especially coming from Germany, where it's all about fast, 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 fast. So yeah, that one is very annoying. So the next difference or culture shock is still about the road. First of all, I have to give it to Canada when it comes to their road design. I love it, especially their highways. It's massive, it's spacious. I love it, right? That one, I have nothing bad to say about it. However, when it comes to the actual road itself, it's disappointing, right? It's very, very bad. Unfortunately, you guys will see some few clips in the camera soon. It's very bad. There are a bunch of potholes in a country like Canada, and that was very shocking to me. I mean, I was warned before coming here that our roads are not that their roads, which is the Canadian roads, they're not up to standard when comparing it to Europe, right? It's not really up to standard. There are a lot of potholes, like I said, and that's very much a downgrade coming from Europe, right? So that's something else. Now, coming back to stop signs, they actually have a system here with their school bus where when dropping off or picking up children or students, their buses have this stop sign. You see it on the camera, you see it on the screen in a bit as well. So they have these stop signs, which means traffic from both directions have to stop. Regardless of what you're doing or regardless of your emergency, you have to stop and wait until that stop sign goes away. Again, you see it on the screen and you see exactly what I'm talking about. Now, I actually had a scenario where, of course, I knew about it because I've seen some few videos about those stop sign school buses, those yellow ones particularly. But then in my situation, it was very weird because I saw the bus, I saw the stop sign. It was immediately after picking up my sisters from school. So, but the issue was that there was no one in that bus, and I could literally see because I was close to the bus, right? So I was like the incoming traffic. So I saw that there was nobody in that bus, just the bus driver. So, and I waited there for about 2 minutes, but no one was getting in or out of the bus. So I was very confused. And then eventually, I just drove off, and somebody immediately warned me that I was actually very lucky, and if the police would have seen me, that would have been a fine up to $1,000 or something like that. But to wrap it up, that's mainly the culture shocks I've experienced in this small time I've been here in Canada. I mean, my overall experience in Canada is about 8.5 out of 10. I love it here, right? Minus the road, right? It's really bad, unfortunately. So especially with those with really good cars, you just have this feeling of you're always scared about your car suspension because the amount of potholes in Canada. I'm still shocked. I'm still very much shocked about that. That's something that it will take me quite a while to get used to, for sure. But overall, I love the place. I love the people. They are very friendly, very nice people, always ready to help. That's something I really like, especially for those who don't speak both languages. They all speak English and French. So if you speak English and you don't speak French, don't worry, just speak your English and they will respond back to you in English. If you speak French and you don't speak English, don't worry, they'll respond back to you in French.
Now let's finally talk about the reason why I decided to move out of Germany and came over here to Canada. Well, basically there are mainly two reasons as to why. The first, family. So basically in Germany, I was pretty much on my own technically. So for those of you who know, you know. Now the second reason is the most important, right? Which is financial freedom. Financial freedom for me personally is such a big deal. I am very much big on financial freedom. My personal experience in Germany when it comes to that aspect has not been the best. I just feel like Germany has way too much limitations on their citizens when it comes to financial freedom, right? Of course, there are certain advantages that Germany has that Canada could never, but at the same time, I don't know. At the same time, I just needed that financial freedom. I just needed to be my own boss. I just needed to be my own person. And I feel like in Germany, that simply wasn't happening. Now, if you want to talk about financial advantages, right, Germany has quite a lot of financial advantages in the sense of retirement, right? In the retirement aspect, you're pretty much good, you're sold, because it comes with early retire. You can also do early retirement as well as the retirement package in itself due to the tax deduction and everything. So you're pretty much covered, whereas in Canada, it's not very much the same, if you get what I mean, right? And also the social system, right? If you're unemployed, the social system pretty much got you covered, whereas here in Canada is not the same. However, due to that aspect, I feel like financially you just have this feeling of being constantly monitored. I don't know, it was just never a great feeling, and I was just never comfortable with it. And it was just, for me personally, nothing against Germany, nothing against any other country, or nothing against any other country with that same financial system. But for me personally, it just wasn't it just wasn't working out. And you know what I mean, like, to each their own. For some people it works great, and for some other people it just isn't it. For me personally, it just wasn't it. Would I ever recommend Germany to someone? Of course. Like, Germany is definitely one of those top European countries where, you know, especially their roads, their financial system, social system, if you really want to count on that, their jobs, right? They pay well, everything is good. But for me personally, it just wasn't it. So overall, the moral of the story here is, don't be afraid to relocate or think of the possibility of relocating just in case one country doesn't favor you. Go ahead and check other countries and see which one favors you and which one doesn't. And that'll be it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys for watching this video all the way to this point. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video, and share it. Peace.